If you could have a D&D style game in any fictional universe, what one would it be?
Wingardium Leviosa.
I mean, you can. There are hundreds of RPG platforms and most of them can be formatted to fit whatever setting you like. That being said though, I would really enjoy a game like this set in the Redwall universe. It is unique and interesting. The closest I have found is the Mouseguard RPG.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I have made an entire system for Fallout as a tabletop and designed a setting based on my local area, Buffalo Niagara region. Currently running it for my friends and having a blast. Edit, system posted here. Edit 2, character sheet, made by a player, is here. Edit 3, I'll even give you guys the level 2 perks I've converted to the system.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Pokémon.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Me and a few friends tried this, went really well.
Wingardium Leviosa.
How do you set that up? Like, how do you deal with encounters, finding Pokémon, etc.?
Wingardium Leviosa.
So we used maps and each map would have patches of grass on them. For each step you took in a wild area, the DM rolled the dice for a table with what Pokémon were in there. For encounters it worked similar with rolls to hit and movement speed, you just controlled the Pokémon. Each attack had a damage modifier and extra damage for stab. The DM made the moves as we went. I'll see if I can remember anything else.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I guess I'm also just wondering, what's stopping the PCs from wandering the grass endlessly until they get the Pokémon they want?
Wingardium Leviosa.
D&D is kind of a self-refereeing game. You have to, as a player, understand that while you can do anything you want, that doesn't mean you should. Just like in real life, you can go rob a liquor store, but there are consequences, and if your DM is any good, you'll pay for anything you do that detracts from the group's fun as a whole. For example, you, as a player, decide you're going to roam back and forth poke hunting just like you would in the video game. Well, the other 3 people at the table are sick of watching you grind out levels while you look for the perfect Pidgey. So the DM tells you that you're starting to get hungry, that you're getting tired, that it's dark. You ignore him because you're gonna get that damn Pidgey. So he tells you that someone called the cops on the mentally deranged person who's been wandering around a field for 6 hours and you're being transported to
Wingardium Leviosa.
Shady Oaks Center for the Mentally Unstable.
Wingardium Leviosa.
You need to look into GURPS, because this was the entire point. I always loved playing supers, superheroes, and cyberpunk campaigns, and for short fun ones we did Illuminati University runs.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Check out Mutants and Masterminds by Green Ronin. It's a point-based build, but not as crazy as GURPS, and it's the only system I've seen to date that can put Batman, Sailor Moon, Goku, and Mr. Spock on the same team and have them all actually be balanced and capable of contributing.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Pirates of Dark Water. The world felt like it was designed for a D&D universe that never took off. Monkey birds, Dagran riders, and Ichamancers, the constrictors as this giant, poisonous worm-like abomination, all the various creatures across all these bizarre, strange worlds, hell, just very idea of the Dark Water, the Dark Dweller, and its numerous henchmen. This could have been something.
Wingardium Leviosa.
The Jane Austen universe. Mr. Darcy, Miss Beanie Mouse, you must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you. Me, Fireball, bitch.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I would like this but with no magic at all, just Regency shit. Mr. Darcy proposes. I tell him that I've never sought his good opinion and make a cutting remark about his low opinion of my family. Rolls a 1. You stumble over your words. Darcy misunderstands and thinks you've accepted his proposal. He goes to take your hand. Roll a saving throw to dodge.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I playtested the most mature version of the 3.5 homebrew on the Giant in the Playground forums back in the day. I was responsible for nerfing the shit out of waterbenders and taking away their ability to sink a Fire Nation battleship in under 5 minutes at level 3 just by moving water. The flow rate in the first few drafts was in the 1,000 tons of water per minute range. It was a very fun system actually.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Mass Effect maybe.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I ran a Mass Effect campaign a few years ago using a modified D20 Star Wars system. It went pretty well.
Wingardium Leviosa.
It makes sense. There's so much lore built into that universe that you could even place a campaign during a specific time, outside the boundaries of the game proper. Want to play during the First Contact War? Go for it. The Rachni War. Might get a little weird, but sure. I could be a little off base. I'm not super savvy when it comes to D&D rules, I just really like the Mass Effect universe. I should go.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Ruby, I imagine semblance building would be an interesting mechanic, as well as gearing your stats around it. Also the weapon system would be fairly unique to account for the fact that most weapons have a range feature. I actually had an idea of how to implement it. Say we're dealing with Ruby and her scythe, Crescent Rose. Her base scythe would do 5 damage, her range does 2, and she has a base clip of 5, so 5 bullets per clip. She could activate a skill called, for instance, Momentum, and now, all her melee damage is the initial 5, plus 2, for as many bullets are in her clip. When it runs out, she would have to spend an action to reload, and either use Momentum again, or use her semblance to move into a position where her range is a good option.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Most fun I had so far was porting D&D to Discworld. You actually can have a D&D style game in any fictional universe you want. I used to do that a lot as DM.
Wingardium Leviosa.
The Discworld universe seems like such a hectic and fun world to play in D&D.
Wingardium Leviosa.
We played campaign following the events of the 5th Elephant in Uberwald. It was a crazy werewolf and vampire story with lots of investigation and detective story elements to it. We handled magic in a bit more random way, especially wizardry, which led to a lot of fun moments.
Wingardium Leviosa.
The Land of Ooh, Adventure Time. It basically is already an RPG world with really rich lore and history. I love that it's really goofy and bizarre but still manages to have a complex and fully developed world with a huge amount of characters.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Random dungeons, magic, alternate planes of reality, ancient tech and ruins of an old world scattered around, different kingdoms and monarchies, eldritch horrors and gods. The Land of Ooh was made for D&D. Speaking of, I'm gonna try playing a Huntress Wizard-inspired ranger this weekend.
Wingardium Leviosa.
The Magava universe crossed with our /Bollywood realism. I would love a game where you can imagine up any sort of inventive solution to your problem so long as you have proof of concept to back it up. Combine that with crazy physics, superhuman abilities, and universe-bending luck and you've got yourself a party.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Gotta be Harry Potter.
Wingardium Leviosa.
That was one of my initial ideas. It's got a lot of lore and a variety of monsters as well. I think this could be a great game if planned well.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I forget, but can you not repel Ak with a shield charm? Or is there no defense for it? If not, then I guess your one line of defense would be to roll to successfully dodge or roll to disarm.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I think with AK it's a bit harder to spam as it's supposed to require more concentration as opposed to other curses. Only people like Voldemort and the more elite Death Eaters are likely able to spam it. Though I'm not sure why Voldemort wasn't using it when he was supposedly dueling 3 teachers at once.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I run a post-apocalyptic D20 game. It's like Mad Max with monsters. Vehicular combat can add a fun angle for experienced players.
Wingardium Leviosa.
That sounds quite interesting. This is kinda off topic, but do you have any interesting stories from this game?
Wingardium Leviosa.
We're only about 6 sessions in, so there's been mostly set up for longer things, but let's see. One player foolishly went out into the desert on foot to test a new laser rifle. A sand sharktopus started barreling down on them. Vehicles are important for a reason, and they had to make a one-chance repair check to get the gun working before it jumped on them. Got it just in time. It was tense. Recently they opened the box they were hired to deliver and told not to open. Inside was a bioshift eel, I'm bad at names, that temporarily made their stats fluid but would change in response to whatever they did. The thing was way too fast for them to restrain easily, so while 2 of them got bit, the third literally fled the vehicle and locked the others in. Laughed for a long time at that one. They've fought sawworms, giant worms with chainsaws for skin, capable of eating buses, poisoned.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Assassins, lost one of their hometowns to a mysterious unstoppable gunman, buried a parent, flamethrowered zombie bugs that turn you into a living hive/slave, made gang connections and took on murder contracts, plundered ruins of old California, seduced a bartender, that's actually a brain-eating shapeshifter biding her time, started a political upheaval, started dating a computer AI, had a few shootouts, and sang in a concert. I think that's most of it. There's also an extensive back history they're just now discovering.
Wingardium Leviosa.
The Elder Scrolls.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Do I have a treat for you, fresh from /TAGA//r/UASP, should have the links to the latest system. Lore is a pretty heavy focus as well, with Colovians and Nibonese Imperials having different stats, and it gives you the ability to play as different types of Khajiit.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Just to clarify, I am 100% aware that because of the nature of tabletop RPGs, you can have it set in fictional universes. I'm not saying you can't. I was just wondering which universes people would pick, so please stop sending messages and putting replies telling me that you can.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Some of my friends used BISM, Big Eyes Small Mouth, to create a Slayers game. It worked really well. They pulled a lot of the comical nature of the show. Damn, I really wish I could remember more of it, because it was super fun and easy to understand as someone who's never seen Slayers.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Cowboy Bebop, Ghost in the Shell and Neon Genesis Evangelion all have really interesting sci-fi universes which could be expanded upon infinitely despite lacking an array of races. There's plenty of mechs, super aliens trying to destroy humanity, and androids gone array to keep people happy.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Westworld. Dunno how it would work, because if you are a guest you can't be killed unless it takes place after season 1. You could perhaps be a guest or host. It would be fun for sure though, as it's basically an RPG theme park.
Wingardium Leviosa.
All of them. I want a pen and paper ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny. I want to roll Vader trying to fight Magneto while Sam and Dean shoot at them both but avoid being targeted by Samus and Pikachu. Just, all of them at once.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I'll try to make some basic homebrew pointers for these characters. Vader's force powers and Magneto's are metallic telekinesis. I'm not too familiar with X-Men. Would probably count as something I would call psychic powers, a catch-all for any sort of power that derives from the mind. I would look into making a set of rules for psychic powers, as in how much one could do without subjecting themselves to mental strain, how much energy it takes to use them, if they're affected by psychoactive drugs, etc. I'm not familiar with Supernatural, but Sam and Dean would probably have some sort of firearm proficiency, so make a rule set for those. Also, maybe something like proficiency in occult knowledge. A sanity system, like Call of Cthulhu, might be good to have if you're involving demons and other beasties like that. Not familiar with Metroid, either, but like Sam and Dean, Samus
Wingardium Leviosa
would have firearm proficiency, and probably has proficiency in alien language too. Her armor would be pretty simple to take into account, just add on to her stats. Pikachu is the easiest of the lot, since it's already part of an RPG. Just take the in-game stats of Pikachu and adapt it to your needs.
Wingardium Leviosa
For me it has to be the Dark Tower.
Wingardium Leviosa
Dark Tower reminds me of the D&D setting Planescape actually, the city of Sigil in particular, the city of doors which has openings to all sorts of other realms of reality. An adventure might take you across wind-swept deserts and immediately into the streets of a crowded city street.
Wingardium Leviosa
I am just learning D&D and quite honestly I am overwhelmed, but on with it. I would choose Dune by the late Frank Herbert.
Wingardium Leviosa
I'm sorry to hear you're overwhelmed, but the community is very friendly, especially when helping someone who wants to learn. Don't be afraid to ask any question in a D&D subreddit. Not to burden you with further learning, but if you like Dune I highly recommend Dark Sun. This is one of the settings made for D&D. While it lacks spice and space travel, it's set on a desert world where survival is harsh. It's like post-apocalypse, like Fallout meets Dune.
Wingardium Leviosa
Star Wars, hands down.
Wingardium Leviosa
There's the Fantasy Flight family of Star Wars RPGs. Each one is made for a specific concept. Edge of the Empire is very smugglers and scum with a bit of a Firefly feel, Age of Rebellion is a military-focused game for people who want to fight the Empire, and Force and Destiny is focused on Force users, struggling to survive post-Order 66. The games are compatible with one another but mixing them can be kind of clumsy. Check out Star Wars D6, i.e. Star Wars West End, if you want a classless system that makes it easy for the DM to improvise content and makes it easy for players to create exactly the kind of weird character concepts they want. I personally have a sneaking suspicion that Rogue One was written via a Star Wars D6 campaign. Play Star Wars Saga Edition if you really like D20.
Wingardium Leviosa
Mate, you could play Delta Green in the SCP verse. He's the perfect match. You also don't have to play DG as the super serious game they market it as. My current DG game I'm running is more SCP meets Bond, with a splash of Captain America. The Karateka in my game is essentially being played like Hydra with liches.
Wingardium Leviosa
Would this be in the current setting, so like lots of devil fruits already taken, or another part of history or AU where players could be rubber/fire/ etc. There is certainly always room for new fruits though, especially with the various models of Zoan and whatnot. Or just be a wacko like Frankie and make yourself awesome.
Wingardium Leviosa
Which planet though? Hard pass on Roshar, I don't want to deal with all the slimy or spindly animals. And high storms sound awful.
Wingardium Leviosa
True. But Mistborn in the Wax and Wane era.
Hey guys, this is the Rogue YouTuber here. I recently had a big change in my life. I had a baby daughter. Here she is. If you could do me a favor and remember to hit the subscribe button and bang the bell, I'm hoping to really create a YouTube channel that really gets people excited and brings people the best, most interesting content collated from across the internet. I'm saving up to save my little girl to Carnegie Mellon Computer Science Department. So please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.